Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the MadMaggs podcast. I'm here with Miguel, and tonight we're going to be talking about the movie Underwater, starring Kristen Stewart and T.J. Miller, directed by William Eubank.
And what did William Eubank do before this?
His last movie that he did was The Signal. This is The Signal. That was
the weird alien-esque movie.
Yeah, this is his first
that one.
big production movie. So
yeah,
it's quite a big task to take on. So a little description about this movie from IMDb. A crew of aquatic researchers work to get to safety after an earthquake devastates their subterranean laboratory, but the crew has more than the ocean seabed to fear. Ooh.
Okay.
This is going to be a non-spoiler review. We may do a spoiler review. We got an early screening of the movie. Tonight's Tuesday, doesn't come out till Friday, so we got a chance to see an early screening.
Yeah, so this is definitely a non-spoiler review. I wanted to get this out there, I guess, before the movie hits theaters, so people can get an idea of what they're walking into.
Mm-hmm. Our first movie of 2020.
Yeah, it is. Now that I think about that, it is the first movie of 2020.
I mean, I didn't have a lot of expectations for this movie. It has a very interesting premise. I like movies that have to deal with water and underwater, and so I was like,
You do, so you were way down.
Yeah.
Before I was. When I saw the trailer, I felt like I didn't have any intention to see this movie. When I saw the trailer, I was like, we've seen this movie before.
Mm-hmm. The Abyss.
Yeah, kind of like The Abyss. It's like Event Horizon meets Aliens, or arguably, Event Horizon was Hellraiser in space. So I love survival horror as a genre in video games. In movies, as a kid, they were my favorite genre, but I got burned out on because it was always the same damn thing. When I saw the trailer of this, I was like, well, it's going to be the same thing. We've seen this movie 100,000 times. Mm-hmm. It's survival underwater. What was that one with shark? Samuel Jackson gets eaten by a motherfucking shark.
Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea. It kind of reminded me of that, except I knew it wasn't going to be sharks. I knew it was going to be some type of creature feature. Mm-hmm. But I ended up liking this movie more than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I think it helped definitely going in with like low expectations. We really didn't know we didn't know what we were really going into. But something that I thought was really cool is that in the trailers, it was like almost like the first couple minutes of the movie. They don't give a lot away at all. Like, I mean, what you see in the trailer with the water coming down and Kristen Stewart, like, realizing like, oh shit, this is about to collapse.
Yeah.
That's like the first 2 minutes of the movie is like they show it in the trailer. I mean, this movie just picks up like quick. It puts you in it, like the adrenaline starts right away.
Yeah, I will say that it goes against a lot of tropes. I think the writers of this film, they could have done better with the dialogue. They could have done better with, I think, the arc of the main character. But I did like the fact that the writer was self-aware of a lot of tropes.
There was one big trope in there, but we'll let y'all figure out what that is.
Yeah, no, I do want to do a spoiler review for that because I got to talk about that. That's what pissed me off. Leaving that theater, I was like, wait a minute, they did do that terrible cliche and trope that a lot of survival horror films do. But for the most part, no, this movie was self-aware in a good way. You can tell the writers didn't want to do a lot of cliches and things we see in a lot of survival horror movies. It went against the grain in a lot of ways. Like you said, I don't mind giving this part away because it's a lot of survival horror films take about 20, 30 minutes to set up exposition and give you all the different annoying archetypes. There's the main girl you know is going to make it in the end, mm-hmm. the captain with balls, the douchebag who's going to screw everyone over, the tough chick. We've seen that over and over again. This movie doesn't do that. This movie drops you right in the middle of this really interesting place. It takes place in the Mariana Trench,
right?
Which, as far as we know, is the deepest part of the ocean.
Right. And they do give you a little bit of snippets during the opening.
It's literally during the credits. It's like I like the way they did it. It's like
it was newspaper clips.
Newspaper clips, which is really cool.
And they only do that they say they're drilling at the bottom of the ocean. There's strange earthquakes going on, unexplained earthquakes. People dying. And they say that there's this big mystery that's surrounded by it, and so you really that there's something going on down there, obviously, and they have no idea, so they just put you right there in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, we're dropped off in this really interesting environment, and the action just takes place immediately. You know, the shit hits the fan in the first act. I
Yeah.
really appreciated that. I appreciated not we didn't need any cheesy exposition, you know, cheesy archetypes all introduced in the first 20, 30 minutes. We just dropped off into the action in a way that seems really realistic.
Right.
You know, the characters seem realistic too. None of them were archetypes. They seem like people we might know, and I really appreciated that too. I don't like Kristen Stewart. I'm not her biggest fan. Probably the most gentlemanly way of putting it. I'm not a fan of hers. She did a good job in this movie.
Mhm.
You know,
I like
I
her.
really liked her by the end of it. We got to see a Q&A afterward.
Very awkward
A
Q&A.
the most awkward Q&A I've ever seen. The guy who did the Q&A, who was the moderator, is a director. Good director. He made Mama, allegedly. Very
With-
underrated film.
Yeah, Mama with Jessica Chastain.
Jessica Chastain, that one. So the guy's a talented guy, but he was a terrible moderator. Everybody was cringing. It was uncomfortable. Kristen Stewart expressed her feelings about how much the production of this movie sucked.
Andy Mussoretti, I believe is how you pronounce his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, he said at the beginning of the interview that he's no moderator.
We could tell. People were
But
walking out cringing at that Q&A.
yeah, they were really the actors were really, they were kind of a little awkward at first, and then whenever they got to start really, letting loose, and they were talking about the suits and having to
They complained a lot about the production, and 2 or 3 of them were not agoraphobic, the opposite of agoraphobic, which is claustrophobic. And so the production for this movie was a nightmare for them, between having to wear those suits and the close quarters that they had to live and work in. But you know what? That's one of the best things I can say about the movie. The suits were amazing.
Yeah, the suits were really cool.
Yeah, they reminded me of something we only see in a video game. Reminded me of something we'd see in Gears of War. Or the Bioshock, yeah. So the production design of this movie,
the big daddies.
Yes, that's what it reminded me of. So the production design of this movie was really incredible. It was really impressive. You know, so they did a good job with that.
Well, and the camera angles were really interesting to watch too.
Yeah, we were right there with them.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they put a camera in Kristen Stewart's helmet a lot, and so you're a lot of time during the movies, like it seems like you're another person. It's almost like a video game. Like you're another person, like, you have your own perspective, like looking at what's happening, which is great. Like whenever you're in that type of survival horror movie, I wish
they would do that more. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to feel like you're in there, but it's not the found footage is, what the popular thing is and putting you there. Like this is, it's still, I thought it was directed really well. And getting those scenes and because they're at the bottom of the ocean, and so whenever they do eventually have to like go out and walk on the bottom of the ocean, it's pitch black, and the only thing that they have are these little flashlights just to get them through, and it's just like
you see maybe 3 feet in front of you.
Yeah, you barely. You really don't even see 3 feet in front of you. Like it's you're just looking out at nothingness, and so you just have to.
This movie does a really good job of pulling us in by making us feel like we're there with them. And if you're claustrophobic, this movie is going to make you feel really uncomfortable, but that's a good thing. Sure. That says something good about the filmmakers. They're able to pull that off.
Yeah, I was tense throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, I will say that I was never really bored. I think the end of the second act had me scratch my head. I was like, okay, where are they going to go with this? But I can't say I was bored at any time.
Yeah, definitely not. Like I remember we got there early because we wanted to order food and eat before the movie started, but they didn't bring us our food until after the movie already started. And I kept trying to eat whenever I knew that there wasn't going to be a scary part because I didn't want to be surprised. And so I had buffalo cauliflower bites, and so you don't get very many, but I was still eating it towards the end of the movie because I'm trying not to eat whatever my adrenaline, going on watching.
Had you eat at all? Because I saw you watching through this whole movie. You and most, again, that's one good thing to say about this movie.
Oh, I was watching it through my hands.
Yeah, you and most of the audience were doing that. No one seemed bored except for when the Q&A came up afterward.
Oh my god! Just because the Q&A was it was live stream, so we didn't get to see the director and the actors in person, but it was live stream and they were so confused. They were just like, are people seeing this? Because they couldn't say a lot about the movie and the plot because they're going to be streaming this like online later.
Yeah.
But they were like, "Are people watching this and haven't seen the movie? Like, can we talk about it? Like, what's
They
happening?
didn't know
Like,
what the hell was
are
going
people
on.
just showing up for this live stream? Like, what is going on?"
Yeah.
And so we were, so that was pretty funny. But they were talking about the suits, how uncomfortable they were, but how they had to take scuba lessons. Um, they filmed this in New Orleans, which that was surprising.
Off the coast of Louisiana, which is really interesting. Of all
well, I guess
places
it makes
to film
sense
this.
because it's murky.
Yeah.
So I guess that's a good environment. Like not like kind of like swampy because you want it to be like pitch black.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good idea for them. But anyway, overall, what's your rating of this movie?
I was
What
going
would
to
you
give it very, very, very light matinee, but I'm going to go ahead and go with a very, very, very strong rental. It is a rental for me. It's not a skip it. It's not some old bullshit. It's a movie people should check out. It's probably the strongest rental I can give it is what I will give it.
I'll give it a matinee just because I feel like you'll appreciate the underwater scenes. I mean, this movie called Underwater. I feel like you would appreciate the movie as a whole seeing it on the big screen.
The only reason I didn't give it a matinee, or even of course not a full price, is that I was trying to find things in this movie that I hadn't seen before. Now, I did say in the beginning that it does go against the grain when it comes to, going against certain tropes. We get the action soon. We don't need the cheesy exposition like we see in most survival horror films and all the cliche characters. The filmmakers avoid that, so kudos to them.
Mm-hmm.
But the dialogue was pretty weak. There was nothing sharp about it.
Well, a lot of the dialogue, especially in the beginning, I had a hard time hearing.
I had a hard time understanding a lot of them a lot of the time. And I know it's because you're supposed to. It's supposed to be a crazy environment. But before the shit hit the fan, I had a hard time understanding them.
Yeah.
So that was a little difficult. There's things that could have been done in this environment, in this type of survival horror films, that I thought they could have done that they didn't. And it's hard to get into the nuance of that without giving too much away. So that's the only reason I'm not giving it a matinee or even a full price, is because I think there's a lot of missed opportunities with this environment. I can't think of another movie that's filmed the bottom of the ocean. I mean, like, of course we saw The Abyss, 30 years ago, but that turned out not to be a horror film. This did, and there's a lot they could play with. They didn't.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not. I respect what you're saying. I agree to an extent that the theater is the place to see some of the imagery here and appreciate it and be fully absorbed. But I just can't give it a matinee. I give it a strong rental.
All right, that's cool. I give it a matinee, but that's just me. I mean, it's very light matinee. It's not anything like, if people like, I'm not gonna tell anybody, hey, you need to go see this movie. But if somebody asks me, I'm like, I enjoyed it. But I mean, I think I enjoyed it more because I went in with super low expectations. Not knowing a lot about this movie going into it, and it was an early screening, so we really haven't heard anything about it. But I enjoyed it. And make sure to stay up with us on our content. We're gonna have a video out with Dark Waters and Bombshell, so be sure to look out for those videos if they're not posted already. But thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you again next time.